Hello again, and more of the India-Britain story here on the UK edition. We were speaking last week of palaces, weren't we? So let's get to one. Buckingham Palace will do nicely for a start. That's where the Queen hosted a grand reception to mark the start of the Indo-British Year of Culture. The day was to have begun with the ceremonial changing of guards to Indian tunes. Now that got washed out by the rain, not surprisingly. But when did peacocks ever get scared by the rain? The guests weren't quite the who's who, but let's say the nearly who's who. So the actor Kamal Hassan was there, Kapil Dev was there, but not Amitabh Bachchan, not Sachin Tendulkar, who were invited but said no. Prime Minister Modi himself didn't make it. He sent Arun Jaitley, the finance minister, instead.
I think we have a long relationship with British. If we can have it, a better relation and better for both the country, why not?
Well, I think the sitar, obviously through my father, has been in British ears for a very long time. But I feel like in popular culture, it's nice to have waves of something getting that kind of focus and attention again. That's always lovely because you get new listeners. So I'm looking forward to that.
We are partly British in our upbringing. Not me, though. I was born after independence. But a lot of that hangover is still there in me. The kind of novels that we read, the films that I like are all European and mostly British in nature. Some of my filmmaking heroes are from England.
I'm very happy to be here because especially since it's coinciding with the 70 years of India's freedom. And also I'm involved in this project to close the festival. So I'm very, very happy to be in London.
It's quite a momentous because it's being the 70th year of our independence.
My mum's British, my dad's Indian. So for me, I've always seen more similarity than difference. I think that there's a great love of literature that both countries share. There's also a great love of theatre, which is my world. So, literature and theatre is kind of my business. And I feel like we have a lot more in common than we're different.
The presence here of Indian culture, it's what makes us British Asians. I remember I grew up in Bombay, moved to Hong Kong for about 9 years and then settled in the UK. And the one thing I know now is that all my friends who had moved out from India to this country, if you'd have asked them about 15 years ago, what's your background? They say, oh, I'm Indian. Now if you ask them, they say, I'm British Asian. And the reason for that is we feel so bonded here. We feel like we've embraced the best of both cultures, and we're very, very lucky to have done that.
Buckingham Palace took on the colours of a peacock this week to mark the launch of the Indo-British Year of Culture. Within, the Queen hosted a reception for many Indians with Indian Finance Minister Arun Jaitley as the chief guest from India. Prince William and Duchess of Cambridge were among the royalty present. The Indian guests received quite a royal reception on their arrival at the Buckingham Palace, where they were driven from the gates to the grand entrance. The guests included many who had been invited from India for the occasion. These included film star Kamal Hassan, cricketer Kapil Dev, and violinist L. Subramaniam.
How is the culture of cricket going in India and England?
What? At the moment, India doing well.
And never mind Australia.
Well, we had a hiccups, but that's all right.
A lot can be done in music, dance, and even cinema. And I primarily am concerned with moving images right now, and I think a lot can be done, especially in the field of education and cinema.
I think this is part of it, to actually go out and experience a night like this that really is the marrying of the two cultures. It's a real appreciation from the British people about how far Indian culture has come. So experiences like this is what it really takes, is to go out there in the real world and actually have receptions like this, have recognition of what we're doing.
Well, 70 years of India's independence, it's a special occasion because we've reinvented, I think, 70 years ago, the place of India was very different, where very little was known about it, either through writing or otherwise. I think the whole resurgence of writing across languages, not just in English, I think is extremely exciting.
I am an Indian musician who lives in London, so it's wonderful for me to be experiencing a year where the focus on Indian culture and Indian arts can be happening here in London. And I'm doing some really interesting work this year that's part of that year, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Accompanied by her husband Prince Philip, the Queen personally met and spoke with the Indian guests present. Her Majesty and Prince Philip were presented a unique book on Indo-British ties and celebrations planned, though the book appeared too heavy for her to lift.
And within the palace, Her Majesty and her guests were treated to an exquisite display of Kuchipudi dancing by Arunima Kumar and her troupe. Certainly something that Buckingham Palace has not seen before.
From the British side, Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson spoke about thriving Indo-British culture.
What's so exciting about India and Britain doing things in culture together?
Well, this is an amazing relationship that goes back centuries, but is getting stronger and stronger. And I think there's a syncresis between Indian and British culture of a kind that is absolutely unique. There's no other pair of countries in the world that produce so much together. Whether it's film or cuisine or books or poetry, you name it.
A host of celebrities spoke with us about their meetings with the Queen.
Also, it was very interesting that, when you have audience with the Queen, so everybody stand in the line, they tell you to. So they told me that you're not standing in the line because you're on your own. So there was a table in which they kept the book for me to explain the book to Her Majesty.
Just being here is incredible. I mean, we're in Buckingham Palace. How often do you get to say that to anyone? It's just, it's particularly special. The Queen has always had a special relationship with India, and I hope that this gets cultivated even more, because I feel that Indians contribute so much to this country. Everything from the obvious medical profession to the arts, to fashion, to lifestyle, to culture, to every aspect of life in the UK.
I have done quite a bit of things earlier. The earliest collaboration I did was with Lord Ekudi Menuhin to celebrate 40 years of India's independence in UN. Subsequently, I did with London Philharmonic, different orchestras. Now, we're doing with London Symphony as a composer. The whole symphony is about the history of India. So it's a lot of collaborative thing can happen. It's beautiful to be here.
मेरी तरफ से हमेशा यही है कि सब तमाम दुनिया में एका इत्तेफाक प्यार मोहब्बत बना रहे, क्योंकि संगीत की जो एक भाषा है उसको समझने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, उसको महसूस करने की ज़रूरत है। बस वो ही है जो सब, क्योंकि संगीत ही खुदा है, संगीत में ही रौनक है, संगीत से ही जुड़ना है, संगीत ही जोड़ता है। जो डांस है, थोड़ी देर के लिए आदमी सब कुछ भूल जाता है, और भूल जाना बहुत ज़रूरी है। अपने आप को खाली करना, फिर कुछ नई चीज़ अपने आप में पैदा करनी, ये बहुत बड़ी बात है।
मानसा माते इन इंग्लैंड, इनके कॉन्सर्ट्स एकदम फुल हाउस, फुल्ली पैक्ड, और ये बहुत ज़बरदस्त चीज़ है। ये इंग्लैंड में जब हम पैदा हुए और बड़े हुए, हम जाते हैं इनकी शायरी सुनने के लिए, और ये भी है पंजाबी लोग जाते हैं इंडिया से भी और पाकिस्तान भी, क्योंकि हम पंजाबी हैं, सब इंग्लैंड में हम सब जाते हैं।
And so what happened to that Jai Ho track and the track from Dawn that the guards had prepared to march with to drum up support for the Year of Culture? We did get that, but in the barracks.
We can technically go out, but it does cause a lot of damage to the instruments. Certainly a woodwind instrument causes thousands of pounds worth of damage. So we didn't go out there, but we were keen that we would, having got this music together.
It's not unusual for the guards to march to pop tunes, but Jai Ho and Dawn certainly were new. They had to work on these tracks and others quite a bit, and even adapt instruments to play them a little more faithfully than they could have otherwise. And all this is only the start of a busy cultural calendar ahead. But between two governments, culture is never just about culture, and Arun Jaitley was not here just as cultural ambassador. He came here to get down to business, as we'll see after a very quick break. Welcome back. And we were saying that all that song and dance about culture is fine, but Arun Jaitley had business on hand. And that includes the business of dealing with Indians now in Britain that the law wants back in India. How do you ensure that? And who is going to demonetize them?
Political clouds were hanging over Mr. Arun Jaitley's visit from the start. And he touched on the issue of extradition of people such as Vijay Mallya from his first engagement at the London School of Economics.
We have to also keep addressing the problem of monies which have been either slashed abroad or are in the form of gold or are in the form of property. Now, these are equal challenges. Now, you require a series of steps. And I can tell you with regard to what's stacked abroad, there are a series of steps which we've taken. I need not mention all of them just now. From legislation to an opportunity to declare, to cooperation with the G20 countries, to the FATCA arrangement with the US, and now with the recent understanding we've had with Switzerland with regard to real-time information. Now, these are all steps which have to be parallelly taken. Now, loan defaults is something which is in another field itself. Because just as I said, the normal was to transact in cash and indulge in evasion, many thought that when you take advances from banks, the monies need not be repaid. And if you don't repay them, you will come back to London and settle down here. Democracy is liberal enough to permit defaulters to stay here. You see, that normal also needs to be cracked. And it's for the first time that you have a strong action being taken. And I'm glad it's never happened that defaulters were on the run. The fact that they are on the run, the fact that their properties are being attached to the last penny, I think is a signal which which India as a country is sending for the first time. Otherwise, we learn to live with defaulters.
News 18 then pressed him further whether he would take up this issue in his meeting with British leaders.
Sanjay Suri from CNN News 18 television. Mr. Jaitley, in this Indo-British year of culture, we do also observe another Indo-British culture of people wanted by the law in India who come and settle in Britain and then do not return despite sustained invitations from the Indian government. Is this a pattern that you will take up with British ministers, and particularly where are we with the extradition of Vijay Mallya?
As far as the government of India is concerned, we take this issue of defaults against the financial system in India very seriously. And I pointed out 2 days ago at the London School of Economics also, and I'm reiterating that we've already sent a very strong signal that to either dupe the exchequer or dupe the financial system or the banking system, the government of India will lend its full support to all financial institutions to recover up to their last pie. And it's obvious that because of this strong position that the government has taken, that some defaulters are on the run. And being on the run, they find refuge in certain other jurisdictions, exploiting the systems which can exist in other parts of the world. Now, our investigating agencies, both themselves and through whatever legal instruments that they have available with them, as it gets reported from time to time, are utilizing every provision of the law, really both to recover the amounts as also attach their assets within India and also approach their counterparts through the legal processes to make sure that we are able to get these people back and held responsible as per law. Now, at what stage they are pending, it gets reported from time to time, but certainly when the opportunity does come, I do take it, use that opportunity to mention to my counterparts here.
Mr. Jaitley was in London on business and not just to attend a party at the palace. He was invited to open the London Stock Exchange, and this was followed by a meeting with more than 100 investors. Several other events were held around Mr. Jaitley's visit, where he met top Indian and British business leaders. And of course, the visit was never going to be complete without a take from him on the demonetization drive in India.
You had high denominational currency. Some of it never got opened up. So from one cupboard it went to another in all these large property transactions. And therefore I think one of the exercises, one of the objects of the demonetization exercise was to reduce the levels of this currency, to eliminate the anonymity which is attached to this currency. And now that monies have reached the bank accounts, and there were no monies outside the bank accounts, make fresh generation of this money extremely difficult, or its reconversion into cash. And once monies have got into the background, hopefully more people are going to transact with the newer form of currency than they have. And I think one part, if we can achieve from this exercise a significant movement towards the banking transaction and the digital transactions, which contemporaneous evidence and anecdotal evidence seems to be indicating, I think it would have made a lot of difference.
A bold move certainly, and one that could have taught the British a thing or two about queuing, and not just for a bus or for cinema tickets, but for money to survive on, which is what millions of Indians did day after day for weeks, out of some loyalty to the decision of the government of the day. Well, enough for now on royalty and loyalty. See you next weekend when we'll have all the results of the state elections here on News 18.